Probably just they would use every part of the animal, and so I did try like cow intestine at some point. Other missionaries did get to try things like frog legs or pig noses or cow tongues and stuff like that. I never got served that, but it was fairly commonplace. I was actually surprised I was never offered it. Most extreme weather was where we would leave the apartment in the morning and it's bright and sunny, and then at noon it's this torrential downpour for about 5 or 10 minutes and everything floods and it gets soaked, and then 5 minutes later it's completely clear again. I got a lot more comfortable asking for directions. In Argentina, the streets are kind of mismatched and it's hard to tell where things are at. And so you just got used to asking people where stuff was because it was much easier than looking on the map and trying to figure out where everything was. So I guess a funny experience, one of the things they have is there are a lot of just gutters on the side of the road that are really deep, but they don't flow very well. So they get filled up with a lot of trash and just get polluted. And this was right after I'd gotten some nice rain boots, and they went up, nearly to my knee. And so I thought that I'd be fine. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to see I want to see what's at the bottom of these, because you never knew how deep they went. So I started putting my foot in and almost got stuck. Luckily I was able to get out, but it was close and just gross because you don't know what's in those things. Not really. There are a lot of dogs in Argentina and they kind of run wild. Like almost everybody has one or more dogs, but they're not contained at all. That's not exactly wildlife, but we'll see a lot of dogs in Argentina and they'll just be running wild. I would definitely say to get a good pair of rain boots that go up basically to your knees. They sell them in a lot of places in Argentina, so you'd probably be fine buying them there so you don't have to worry about packing them because they are heavy and bulky. But they were definitely the best clothing investment I made. And I didn't realize that until I was a year into my mission, and I think I could have spared myself a lot of wet socks. One of the greatest things is just learning to be grateful for all that I had. I mean, my parents always had enough for us, and we always had a nice home. And we were by no means wealthy, but we had enough. And going there, where nearly everyone, it was common to have dirt floors, and just everyone's kind of at the poverty level. And so it really kind of opened my eyes to how fortunate and blessed I've been in my life. I didn't have to worry about the basic necessities. So I think one of the most growing experiences for me was I was in my favorite area, probably. Like, it was just a good area. The members were really cooperative with us. It was it was almost my birthday, and it was right before Christmas, and things were going great. And then I got a call from the mission president saying that there had been a problem in another area where one of the local people had really gotten angry at the missionaries for an unjustified reason, but he was dangerous and they had to get the missionaries out, and I had to go replace one of those missionaries. And this area, the gospel wasn't very strong there. The branch was not very strong, and it was a whole new area where there wasn't as much prospective investigators as I had in my last area. And so I got torn away from, it was really my favorite area, and I had been so excited that I was staying another transfer. And so then to just be suddenly ripped away from all that was really depressing for me. And I spent the first week just very angry and bitter. And I remember at one point I thought to myself, like, why did this happen to me? I didn't ask for it. And, then I just kind of got the realization of nobody said you asked for it. This is what God needs you to do right now. And I wish I could say after that I was like, a perfect stalwart missionary. But, there were still hard times, and it was still hard to deal with. But I just recognized at that point that hard things happen, and you're not any less blessed because great things didn't happen. You're blessed for how much you work to overcome the challenges that you're given. there was one investigator where she had always wanted to get baptized basically since she had met the missionaries. The problem was she was not married to her husband, and she wanted to get married, but she had a previous marriage that hadn't gotten divorced because the divorce process is even more complicated than the marriage process in Argentina. And so she worked for a long time to get that divorce finalized and then get married to her husband. And so she was very anxious to get baptized, and it was very straightforward to get her baptized when she was finally married and able to. What was more difficult was her husband, where we could tell he believed the gospel and he went to church and there was no testimony problems, but for whatever reason he didn't want to get baptized. And at some point our mission president had actually come to our area to talk to this sister, and when he finished talking to her, she talked to him and told us before he left that he wanted to make sure, he really felt that this brother needed to be baptized and wanted to come to his baptism when it happened. So we didn't want to let down our mission president, and we also wanted to follow the promptings and had always felt he would be a good investigator. And we really realized that he just needed to be shown love and shown that this was the best way for him to improve his life. And there was nothing, I don't think we did anything particularly spectacular to get him, but I think through showing that love and commitment, he finally realized that he needed to be baptized. And so we finally got him baptized, and the mission president was able to come, and it was a really exciting experience for all of us and a really touching experience. I think the main thing is, I think everybody goes and researches where they're going, and I think it's good to maybe get some input from somebody who's been there or somebody who knows more locally, because again, the biggest problem I had was that I went to Buenos Aires and I thought that meant the city, and it turns out that's more of a state almost. And so it was a big difference between the big city and then the outskirts where I was at, and it was just different than I had anticipated. And I think if I had done a little more research into what the countryside was like and what it was like outside of the big city, I would have been a little more prepared for it.